I've seen so many people go for the budget AV receiver that promises big sound for a tiny price, only to end up fighting with laggy Bluetooth, missing surround formats, or a lack of future-proof video support. It's that sinking feeling when you finally sit down for movie night and the sound feels flat, or the TV refuses to display 8K content because the receiver can't keep up. So the question I'm really answering today is, does the Denon AVR X4800H feel like a smarter buy? Or is it just another expensive piece of kit that looks good on paper but disappoints in the living room? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I spent a few weeks wiring a mid-size home theater for Atmos-enabled speakers, 2 rear surrounds, a sub, and a couple of HEOS speakers for the kitchen so I could see exactly how this receiver performs in a real-world setup. My goal was to see whether the promises of 9.4 channels, 8K pass-through, and IMAX enhanced actually translate into something you notice when you're watching a blockbuster or just streaming your favorite playlist. First off, the biggest win for the X4800H is its video handling. If you've already upgraded to an 8K TV, you know that many older receivers will downscale the signal or refuse to pass through HDR10+ content. This Denon model accepts 8K per 60 Hz video and supports HDCP 2.3, which means your TV can stay at its native resolution without you having to insert an extra HDMI switch or worry about the picture getting fuzzed out. In practice, I didn't see any extra latency or color shifting when I swapped a 4K HDR Blu-ray for an 8K streaming title. The picture stayed crisp, and the receiver didn't hiccup once. On the audio side, the 9-channel layout is a genuine step up from the usual 5.2 or 7.2 units you see in the mid-range market. The extra 2 channels give you the flexibility to run a full Atmos configuration with height speakers, or to add an extra pair of rear surrounds if you have a larger room. The built-in Dolby Atmos and DTS-X processing sounded immersive enough that I could actually pinpoint the rain on a rooftop scene or feel a helicopter swoop overhead in a game of Flight Simulator. The IMAX Enhanced label isn't just a badge. It actually activates the specific object-based audio tracks that some newer titles include, and you can tell the difference on the few IMAX enhanced discs I tried. If you're someone who likes music in every corner of the house, the HEOS multi-room streaming works surprisingly well. I linked a pair of HEOS speakers in the dining area and a set of Sonastyle units in the master bedroom. The Denon's app lets you push any source from Bluetooth, Spotify, or a local network share to any room, and the sync between the zones stayed tight even when the Wi-Fi signal dipped a bit. It's not a perfect substitute for a dedicated whole-home audio system, but for a living room-first setup that expands outward, it's a practical solution. Now, let's talk about the downsides. The first thing that catches people off guard is the power budget. The specs list 125W per channel, but that's a peak rating under ideal conditions. In a larger room, or if you're pushing the sub hard for deep explosions, the receiver can start to clip. I found that when I cranked the volume past 90% for a high-energy action film, the bass began to feel a little tight, and the overall dynamics lost a touch of punch. If you have a very large space or you love turning the volume up for every game night, you might need a more robust amp or a dedicated subwoofer controller. Another practical consideration is the learning curve. The front panel is sleek, but the on-screen menu can be dense. Setting up the automatic speaker calibration, Odyssey, is straightforward, yet fine-tuning the height channels or adjusting the HEOS network settings takes a few minutes of trial and error. I'm not saying it's a nightmare, but if you're looking for a plug-and-play experience without ever opening the settings menu, you'll spend a little time reading the manual or watching a tutorial video. The receiver also lacks a few of the newest HDMI 2.1 features that gamers are hunting for, specifically variable refresh rate, VRR, and quick frame transport.